Yes, Prime Minister. Yes, Prime Minister. Ooh. Well, that was fun. Another little ride on the Brompton. As usual, it's performed very well. But of course, this isn't the only bike I've got. I started out cycling with a road bike. That was my introduction to cycling, and always has been my favourite up to now. And I've still got a road bike which I use not as often as I'd like. So I thought I might ask myself the question, which do I prefer, Brompton or the road bike? So that's what I'm going to do today, is to compare the two for you and tell you what I think. So without any further ado, let's go get the road bike out, pump the tyres up, and we'll have a little look. Well, here we are. This is the road bike. Doesn't half feel different to the Brompton, and different in lots of different ways. So what I think I'll do is I'll take the bikes into the back garden and we'll look at them together and then try and decide which of them I think is my favourite. Tricky decision, I think. Here are the two bikes alongside each other. You can straight away see there's a difference in the overall size of the bikes. Brompton looks a much smaller affair when it's unfolded like this. Can't fold this bike. Most obvious difference straight away to anybody would be the size of the wheels, I imagine. What I'm going to do now though, I'm going to have a look at each of the bikes separately and put them up on my work stand and then talk about some of the other differences between the two bikes and try and answer the question, which of them do I like best? That's a very, very difficult question, I think. Well, I'm going to have a go. So this is my Ribble Cycles carbon fibre road bike. The frame is made of carbon fibre and so are the forks. And I bought this about 10 years ago from Ribble Cycles, and I was able to configure it online so I had the individual components which I wanted. So it comes with a Campagnolo set of components. Some people say Campagnolo, some people say Campagnolo. Road cyclists usually just say Campag. So it's got a Campag chain set, Campag front gear, rear gear. That's what you mean by that. I've made a couple of small changes to it over the years. I used to have look pedals, which are the ski boot type pedals, and I've also used Campagnolo super record pedals with toe clips, but recently I just feel more comfortable with an ordinary platform like that. This has rim brakes, which are very good, Campagnolo brakes, operated by the levers on the handlebars. If you were to go out and buy a road bike today, you probably wouldn't have these kind of brakes, because they nearly all now come with disc brakes, similar to what a motorcycle has. and the discs would be somewhere around there. And a lot of people say that they are more effective than rim brakes. The biggest advantage I can see in disc brakes is that they're not going to overheat the way these do. So if you're descending down a very steep climb on a hot summer's day and you've got your brakes on to get around the corners, these rims will get extremely hot. I mean really, really hot. You burn your hands on them. And what can happen is the wheel gets so hot that the air inside the tube, which is inside that tyre, cannot expand anymore, and the tube explodes, and then suddenly you're in a world of hurt. So comfort, this is the thing to ride if you're going a long way. It'll look after you. The various riding positions, I tend to ride with my hands on the tops. You know, most ordinary cyclists wouldn't normally have their hands down here unless they were sprinting or maybe going down a hill. Normally you put your hands on the top, and it's very comfortable. The saddles are much more comfortable than you might think. They don't look very comfortable, but believe me, you do get used to them. This one is a titanium flight saddle, so there's not much to it, which means it's a very light saddle. A lot of people would look at the drop handlebar bike and say, I could never ride that. But once you get used to the feel of it, it's not that bad. The way you change gears, now a lot of road bikes these days have got electronic wireless gear changing. So you just have a couple of buttons on here. If you want to change up a gear, you press a button. If you want to change down, you press a button. This bike being 10 years old, the gear changes are fixed on here. So you just slide them back and forth and you change gear. This bike has got 20 gears. So what that means is there are 2 sets of gears on the front, and there are 10 on this, what's called a cassette of sprockets. And the biggest sprocket is a 30 tuff. So I can climb up very, very steep hills with this bike if I use the biggest sprocket there and the smaller one at the front. From time to time I do have to get off and push. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that. Of course, the big advantage this has over a Brompton is you can go much, much faster on this bike. Much faster. So if you're in the biggest gear on this, you can really get up to 40 miles an hour, more than 40 miles an hour. You can also now buy electric road bikes. So the battery is sometimes fitted into this tube, course, and the motor is usually in the middle. That does make them heavier, obviously. So the time may come when I have to resort to an electric bike, but I'm going to put that off as long as I can. And I wanted to talk about practicality. If you want to take the bike somewhere, you can easily take these wheels off because they are fitted with what are called quick release hubs. Just flick that lever and the wheel will come out, and I can put it in the car. If you've got a fairly small car, probably have to remove both wheels to get it into the car. So that's this bike. Gonna have a look at the Brompton now. I have talked about the Brompton before when I reviewed my first 100 miles with it. But I'm just going to mention this time some of the more major differences between the Brompton and this. Well, that was the road bike. here's the Brompton, which you may have seen before on my videos. Plus the major difference between this and the road bike is pretty obvious. It's the fact that you can fold this one up and carry it around with you. It's heavier than a road bike, certainly than my road bike. I wouldn't want to carry it for miles and miles. Why would I do that anyway? It very easily goes into the back of a car and it's folded up. If you had a big car, you might even be able to put it behind the seat, behind your driver's seat or passenger seat. I've got a Ford Fiesta, which is not a particularly large car, and so I put it in the boot. The differences though between this and the road bike, obviously the wheels are smaller, it's not as comfortable as the road bike, especially if you go over any bumps, because you have various hinges and this point here, which is a kind of suspension point, and they rattle every time you go over a bump. You might hear that in some of my videos. If you're not going over bumps though, it's pretty comfortable. It's quite an upright riding position. You're not stretching forward as much as you do on a road bike. So I find it quite comfortable to ride, yeah. It's got the 6 gears, one chainring there, 6 gears at the back. You cannot go up the kind of hills with this that you can with the road bike. You just, it's not designed for that. You can modify it by changing this chainring and having a smaller one. A lot of people do that, I understand, and it makes a big difference. So you'd be able to go up steeper hills if you did that. I think if I'm just going to be using it along the canal, when my boat is eventually finished, when, not if, then I might well just leave it as it is. This has also got rim brakes. They're very effective. I've been very impressed by the brakes on this bike. You can also buy an electric version of the Brompton. That's going to be heavier, of course, and it's also going to add to the price. You can also buy a version which has got titanium parts on it, and you can also buy particularly lightweight replacement parts. So you could buy a lighter seat post, a lighter saddle, and so on. So yeah, the major difference is this is much more practical for carrying around in your car or on the train. I've taken this on the train, I don't know, half a dozen times, and it's pretty easy, to be honest. You do have to watch that you don't bump into someone when you're carrying it, because if you hit somebody with this, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt them, and so when you sit down on the train, you need to be sure that your bike is safe. You can take a full-size bike like the road bike on some trains, but often you need to book in advance. You can't just turn up with a full-size bike. You don't need to book this, because it just counts as hand luggage, just like somebody's suitcase would. So I guess the question everybody wants to know, which of them is best? Which do I prefer? So I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to answer the question, but I'm also going to ask the audience a bit. So I'm going to do some market research. I've commissioned a special company to question passers-by and ask them their opinion of the two bikes and which one they think is best. So stay with it, and I'm going to show you that next. And so, welcome from the Alan Wicker Impersonation and Appreciation Society. I'm going to ask random members of the public, who perhaps quite look similar to each other, for their opinion of this question. Was it Brompton or road bike? Which is best? Let's see what they said. Yes. Oh, well, bicycle, eh? I think Nanny had one of those. Yes, beastly thing it was. So was a bicycle. I don't really know. I'm sorry. Hello, yes. Well, that's a tricky question. I'll have to stop because my phone's ringing. Yes. Well, now. Oh, it's a difficult question, isn't it? I'll have to think about that. Can I think about it, please? Yes. All right then. I'll think about it. G'day, mate. Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting question, that, and I think it really needs to be answered. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear the question. I'm still thinking about it, by the way. You haven't forgotten me, have you? Well, there we are. There's the results of our market research, highly intensive survey, and back to normal accent. What conclusions can we draw from those randomly chosen independent passers-by? None whatsoever, really. They weren't much help, were they? So it's down to me. So the answer, which is best, Brompton or road bike? Well, it'll come as little surprise, I imagine, to you that they're both best. Brompton is the best if you're on a narrowboat, I think, or if you're commuting around the town every day and you need to get on the train regularly. If that doesn't apply, then the road bike is absolutely the weapon of choice, I think. So I love all my bikes equally, and I wouldn't be without them. And just a minute. Dear. Honestly, things I do. Now then, so yeah, they're both best, and no. Just a minute. Yes, Prime Minister. Yes, Prime Minister. Right, what's your latest? You want to scrap cycle lanes so that the roads can be wider and people can get bigger cars, so fewer people will have to go on trains. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, that's a real vote winner, that is. All right. Yeah, call me tomorrow then. All right. Yeah. All right, cheers. Bye. Right. No more interruptions. So yeah, they're both best. I love all my bikes equally, and I won't be without any of them. So it depends what you want the bike for as to which one you buy. Pretty obvious conclusion when you come to think about it. So that's it. That's the end of this one. Little bit of nonsense here at the end, which you may find amusing. I don't know. I hope so. If you like the video, you know what to do. Do leave some comments. If you like a bit of humour in it, let me know. Or if you don't, let me know. And if you're not subscribed yet, then why the hell haven't you? That's the first thing. And the second thing is then you'll please do think of doing so, because I'd be very grateful for that. But that's it. Otherwise, until the next time, I'm off inside for a cup of tea because it's actually quite cold now, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.